Yo, what's going on? Captain Paul from the Talking Shit Podcast. Appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe. Would definitely help us in the algorithm. So let's get right into it. So Joe Budden, he got exposed by Crooked Eye, or King Crooked, right? Essentially, Crooked showed the receipts from the pull-up episode that was supposed to happen about Joe saying, "Fuck a contract, I don't need that shit." You know, like, contract don't mean shit to me. So, he went into that deal with Shady, saying, essentially assuming he'd only do one album and that he wasn't going to honor his contract. Alright. This just kind of goes to prove that Joe Budden is one of the worst businessmen, or what would you say? Yeah, entrepreneurs, like, probably in the whole rapper sphere, in my opinion. Joe Budden has fumbled the bag time and time and time again. Nobody can deny that guy's talent, the amount of entertainment he can bring to the masses, whether it be through music or his podcast. Even when he did Everyday Struggle with DJ Academics. It's just absolutely kind of wild to me that this guy just doesn't understand that, like, you can't keep, like, if something keeps happening over and over and over to you, maybe the common denominator is you, Joe. Maybe that's the issue. And, I listened to the album, thought it was really good. I enjoyed the Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse. It had some really good tracks on there. And I think it painted a good picture of what Joel and what King Crooked had to go through, right? Like, the frustration, even some stuff that, like, kind of the beef between Joel and Royce. It was a very interesting album to listen to, and the music itself came off pretty well. I don't think the production was as good as on their album Hard, which is the name of their group. But at the same point, I thought the storytelling was far better, and I thought the lyricism was just fucking god tier. Like, that backstage verse by King Crooked was just insane. How he just told his story, aligning with biblical passages. It was crazy. I love that. That, to me, that's got to be contender for, like, one of the best verses of the year. But let's get back into Joe. Joe Budden will never be a successful business partner for anyone. He's just not. I think Joe Budden, he has his little podcast. He does pretty well with that. He has success in those avenues. But the only thing that has held Joe back is himself. Listen, I'm not saying Shady has the best track record when it comes to the groups. Like, besides 50 Cent, there's been a lot of swings and misses. But, they were going to really back Slaughterhouse. Like, the snippets of Glass House from what I've heard definitely sounded dope. It would have been great. I actually thought their first album wasn't that bad. I think a little too polished at times, but, like, I thought it was pretty good. And they would have really backed that group, but just Joe, he's not a smart businessman. He doesn't honor his agreements. And that's why, like, when you see Joe with the whole Rory Mall thing, and then with the Spotify, it's like, it's always something with Joe Budden. He's not a smart businessman. He's very good at manipulating people. He's very good at portraying himself in a certain manner to become a sympathetic figure. But at this point, if you truly believe Joe Budden is, like, telling the truth, and that, Crooked Eye and Joel are lying, there's just too much. When there's too much smoke, when there's smoke, there's fire. There's no absolute way you can truly believe that Joe Budden isn't like the pain in the ass that he is. Because in every situation he has, there's always some issue. I think with Ice and Ish on the Joe Budden podcast, I guarantee you in like a year or 2 years down the road, there's going to be some type of beef that happens, some type of conflict, because Joe thrives off conflict. Joe thrives off of negativity. For a guy that says that he wants to keep his energy right and keep a positive mindset, he's always putting himself in this situation. And, this kind of goes to a greater conversation that I think a lot of musicians, or maybe I should just say some musicians, don't understand what a contract truly means. For people that are new to the business, like, if you sign something on the dotted line, you generally have to honor that. You know, and this is just me making an assumption. I'll fully own this, but I think the only reason Slaughterhouse even got, you know, off of Shady without a lot of issues, you know, there was no music for about 10 years, but with a lot of less contractual issues, is let's be fucking frank. Royce is close with Eminem really had a passion for that group, so I don't think he wanted to fuck them. So, you know, Shady Records really made no money off Slaughterhouse. There was no return. So, you know, Shady could have been complete assholes and just said, well, fuck you. Where's my 2 other albums? I need to see some profit or some return on the profit that I'm some return on the money I'm spending. Because they didn't really see it. Like, studio sessions and all that. And Eminem even came out and said that. Like, it would have been dope to, like, give Joe this money, but, like, there's no money. There's nothing there. You know, what you got is what we have. Like, the album didn't go gangbusters like they thought it would. M even actually kind of backed away from the project because he was fearful of, like, okay, like, maybe it's me. Which, you know, for a guy that big to do, that's kind of like, oh, well, shit. Like, he really wants this group to succeed. So I don't know. It's always something with Joe Budden, always some contractual problems, and I don't think he is a smart businessman. I think he can make a lot of money, but his business sense isn't the best, and I think personally that you can only keep doing this for so much longer until companies just aren't going to want to deal with you. There's always probably going to be that one company that doesn't give a fuck because they understand the traction that you can bring. But, you know, reputable companies and reputable streaming services that don't want to deal with the headache of Joe Budden are just not going to engage in conversations. Like, Spotify probably wouldn't go back to him. Apple probably wouldn't go back to him. Because when you have on the record you saying, I don't give a fuck about a contract, well, what does that tell to future investors that want to get in behind you and want to make money when you're, you know, contacting them? Because they'll just listen to that clip like, oh, well, you don't give a fuck about contracts. So if I signed you this $15-20 million deal, and one little hiccup comes up or there's some bump in the road, you're just gonna say fuck a contract and hold out? That's not how things work, you know. And I think it's a shame. It's a shame to what happened to Slaughterhouse. It is a very slippery slope of deceit and honestly douchebag behavior by Joe Budden. It's unfortunate because I think that group could have been pretty amazing. I liked a lot of their mixtapes, and I liked a lot of you know, from their debut album, and there was a lot of good tracks on there. Am I gonna say it's my favorite album ever? No, but I thought there was definitely room to grow, and that was their first, like, technically commercial type album. Like, they would have been able to kind of fix and, you know, adjust the formula, and it would have been amazing. Because I think from what I've heard with the Glasshouse snippets, it sounded pretty fucking dope. So, Joe Budden ended Slaughterhouse. He destroyed it. King Crooked doesn't want to have anything to do with it. I don't believe Joel does either. He just want to move on, get away from the negative energy. And I will say this. The Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse album, if you haven't given it a listen, it is good for people that have been a follower of this group for years and years. It kind of gives us a little bit of that closure we want, kind of explains the situations. Because, for me, for example, I was like, why the fuck have they not released anything for 10 years? Like, I know Joe technically retired, but it's like, you know, there was time before that, and there was time after that. Like, Joe even kind of rumorly talked about it. Like, why was there no music put out? And it was kind of, I don't know, it was a very refreshing, and it was kind of good for us fans to find out, like, okay, like, what's the side of the story here? And, you know, that's pretty much what I have to say. I would have to give The Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse, like, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I thought it was pretty fucking good. And it was a very enjoyable listen. I've actually been having it on repeat while I've been out here. So I actually really like the album, and I really like the lyrical and storytelling aspect of it as well. And I'm looking forward to more from Joel and Crooked coming up soon, hopefully. Oh, and before I go, I'll say this. Royce the 5'9", one of my favorite artists. Book of Ryan is actually my favorite. The Allegory was really good, but Book of Ryan probably, for me personally, edges it out. I'm very disappointed with how he's kind of moved in this situation, because I kind of look at Royce as a guy that, you know, very stand-up dude, very principled, but I don't know. It's just outside looking, obviously, it seems like, and that's nice. It's a little ice falling off. Outside looking in, obviously, I think it's like Joe Budden's just using him and manipulating Royce. It looks like Joe Budden's using him as an, how do I put this very lightly, as kind of like a grunt in the army. Like Joel, Joe Budden is the commander, and that Royce is just some grunt in the military. I don't know. It just doesn't look good optically, at least for me personally. So, what do you guys think down below? You think this Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse album was good? What you think of the album? What do you think about the situation with Joe Budden? Do you think Joe Budden's a trash fucking businessman like I do? Be interested to hear what you think. Again, appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe. We're growing this channel steadily. We have some pretty good support here, and I appreciate everyone for watching. So I'll see you in the next episode, because I'm done talking my shit. Peace.